Pascal. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild, Haitian in the building, so original. Got the haters catching feelings. Get your hands up to the ceiling and keep them held high. Cause St. Louis isn't ready. Forget about it, goodbye. Hold on, we just saying hi. Five somebody, rise up. Weekdays, catch us live. Somebody, let's go.
Good morning. Good afternoon and good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Pascal Show. Happy Sunday to every single last one, y'all. Hopefully this show finds you in good spirits because another day above the dirt is always a blessing. All right, we got a lot going on. There's a lot going on that happened yesterday and the night before. It has been absolutely nuts out here in these streets. A lot of people are feeling some type of way about this. Are we rejoicing? Are we mad? What is it? Is this a good thing or is this a bad thing that just happened in Venezuela with their leader, the president of Venezuela, getting arrested or getting captured, for lack of a better term? Some people saying napped, that he was kidnapped. My question is this good news or is this bad news? We're going to be talking about that and all that and then some. But please do me a favor before we get into everything. Please do me a solid. Hit that like button down below. Crush it, do what it do. Hit that reaction button if you're watching on these other platforms. If you are watching on these other platforms like Facebook, X/Twitter, Instagram, Rumble, Twitch, Kick. I'm on all of those mugs. So make sure you hit that follow button. Follow on those platforms, especially Facebook, because there's a lot of updates I'm putting out there in article form or, in post form that sometimes we just don't have time to hop on in front of a camera and give you guys the updates right then and there. So make sure you're following, not only just on Facebook, but that you're also subscribed here on my YouTube channel as well, right here on this main one. Go to my second channel, The Pascal Show Clips, and of course, subscribe to Pascal Raw. There's a lot of new stuff coming out on those platforms very, very soon. So make sure you are subscribed. Hit that notification bell so you know whenever we go live, whenever we upload, because honestly, it's a lot of breaking news and it's random whenever I can get into this room. All right. Your boy's busy. All right. But please make sure you hit that notification bell. Hit that join button down below. Support the channel if you can. Be sure to check out my Patreon as well. A lot of stuff is going to be coming on to Patreon very, very soon. In fact, later today, something's going to be up there on Patreon. So go and make sure, if you want to support even further, go check out my Patreon. Support if you can. All right. Of course, check out that. And of course, check out pascalmerch.com. If you're looking for some nice threads, etc., hey, check it out. pascalmerch.com. Okay, guys, we got to get into this. All right. Can't be on for a long show today, unfortunately. It's a very busy day today. But nonetheless, I could not go without talking to you guys about what has been happening as of late. There has been a lot going on. And now all of us are even more concerned about what's really going on here. What's the future? Because some people are looking at this, like I said, some people are looking at this as good news. And some people are looking at this as bad news. Where do you lie? What side of the fence do you sit on? I know a lot of people are feeling that President Trump, is not very peaceful. That's what some people, a lot of people, are feeling right now. They're going, wait a second. How can this guy say that he's anti-war, yet he is waging war on the likes of Venezuela and other places as well? Just a sprinkle of foreshadowing for what's to come into this show here. But that's what some people are feeling right now. Some people really do feel some type of way about what happened here. But we're seeing all kinds of stuff going on in Venezuela. But what's interesting about that is, it's really easy for people to clip things, make it look like everybody in Venezuela is just shucking and jiving, popping champagne, enjoying their lives and celebrating, saying, ding dong, the witch is gone, right? But in actuality, we're seeing both sides. We're seeing protests out in Venezuela as well. People mad, upset about their leader, their president, being taken in such a fashion. There are a lot of people that feel some type of way about this, both good and bad. Let me just say that again, because I know some people have selective hearing, both good and bad. People are on both sides of the fence. There are protests going on in New York City as we speak. People upset with how Trump did this. Let me just explain something to you really quick as we take a look at this still of Nicolas Maduro doing his perp walk, coming off of the airplane. He finally arrives in New York City, and he is on his way to be indicted on multiple charges, federal charges, very, very soon. Probably tomorrow, he'll be walking into a federal court for crimes that he is looking at, for crimes that he committed against the world, if not his country as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens over the next couple of days. Well, let's talk about this. President Trump did some things that people are not happy about. You've been hearing the likes of Chuck Schumer to now Marjorie Taylor Greene and other elected officials all reacting in not a good way about what Trump did. Now, first off, let me just make this abundantly clear. Trump did something against what he did something under. Let me rephrase this. Trump did something behind Congress's back. So while Congress is, resting their weary little heads in the middle of the mother-loving night, Trump flew in 150 different aircrafts and they dropped bombs on selected, targeted areas in Venezuela, in Caracas, right? They say without any casualties, without any problems or anything of that sort, right? But that still remains to be seen. There's still people that were living near the area where shrapnel explosions, the wake of those explosions, right? There's still people that could still very well get hurt. And they say that multiple people did get hurt during this literal attack, this strike that the U.S. did. But what's even more insane, that's just insane and tragic alone. And I'm not talking about soldiers. I'm talking about civilians. Just so you know, civilians. But I also want to point this out too. He did this while everybody was asleep. Yes. While everyone was mother-loving asleep. Hold on. Do I have that? Yes, I do. So you hear this in the backyard, in your backyard. If it wasn't like wintertime, you know what I mean? Some areas of the world don't have wintertime. So you still have insects. So as you're sleeping, you hear nothing but the peaceful sound of crickets just in the background. While you are asleep, while we are all sleeping, dreaming of gumdrops and gingerbread men. That sounds weird, but you get what I'm saying. 'Tis the season. Trump dropped bombs on mother-loving Venezuela. So why do you think he did this without Congress's approval? Why do you think he did it without Congress's approval? One thing's for damn sure. He did this in this way because he knew for a fact there was going to be pushback from Congress. There were going to be people who were going to sit there and say, "Hail to the no. What crack are you smoking? Dear sir, what cracketh hath thou smoketh?" They would sit there and go, "Wait, what are you talking about? You're doing what? Oh, this sounds like imperialism, if you ask me. Oh, no. You shouldn't. No, we are not going to do that. No." This is the reason why he did exactly what he did while we were all asleep. Not only because he saw this as an opportunity. We're going to do this as asleep because Congress won't know anything. In fact, while the bombings were going down, when the boom booms went off, right? Everybody and their mom was still trying to figure out, is this America? Is this the U.S. doing this? What's going on, right? Remember that? Remember what happened a couple days ago? Remember that? That was crazy, though, right? That was wild. The whole world was literally wondering if it was America. Clearly it was, even before they announced that it was U.S. actually striking Venezuela. We already knew it was America. But at the same time, though, there were people all scratching their heads. I saw it. I seen it live on people's live feeds. They're all asking the same doggone question. Wait a second. Is this America? Did the U.S. just do this? Is the U.S. doing this right now? What is going on? Because he didn't want other people pushing back and trying to convince him to do otherwise. He knew that by swooping in, this was a double whammy. One, if he does it, he's not getting the approval by Congress, but then also at the same time, he can get the element of surprise on Maduro. Ain't that crazy? Ain't that crazy? Now, aside from him doing this behind Congress's back, which he did, this ain't TDS. This is what he did. It's verbatim what he did. All right. It's verbatim what he did. He even admitted it during his press conference. He said, if I told Congress what I was about to do, something would have leaked. That's one of the things he said. That somebody in Congress would have been a damn rat. To who? To Maduro? To the American press? To the American people? I don't know. I don't know. But one thing is for sure. He definitely did something that Congress is not very happy about. Just saying. It's wild. And some people say this is unconstitutional, what he did. What do you think? Is it unconstitutional? Or no? This is a very, very wild series of events. Very wild. And I don't know what's going to come of this. What's next? Because here's the thing. Just because they nabbed Maduro, it doesn't mean that it's the end all be all. You realize that, right? It's not like Venezuela, their regime just suddenly dismantled after they detained Maduro. There are still leaders, the people that are right underneath him, his vice president, etc., that are all reacting to this, and they're not happy about this. Do you really think you already know that this is all about oil? We already been known that. It's about oil, y'all. This whole thing is most definitely about oil. We already know that, right? He even said that as well in his press conference. This has nothing to do with the Fenty being moved. No, this is all about that infrastructure, and it's not an infrastructure of safety measures or the food or the water supply or anything of that sort. Safety precautions when natural disasters and whatnot happen. No, he's talking about the infrastructure of the actual oil, of pipelines, of that liquid gold that is coursing through that country. And he said the quiet part out loud finally. He finally said it. And he said, we gonna run this country. Literally, they're gonna run Venezuela until they deplete every last bit of that oil. Sell that oil back to the people of Venezuela and get rich off that stuff. He said it. That ain't TDS. That's literally what he said. Verbatim. Watch that press conference again. I implore you, please take that moment and take that and put it all in your brains, Because again, everyone's like, oh no, he was trying to stop the cartels and the Fenty coming in from that country and all that. That's what he would do. Hell to the no. In fact, there's footage of him talking about this in his first term, specifically talking about Venezuela and how they screwed over America when we helped build the oil infrastructure, okay? Built the oil infrastructure, and he said they kicked us out, they screwed us over. We should be getting that back, right? We should be getting that back. He said this in his first term. He said it. There's footage of that out there in the world. In fact, I'll try to find it so you guys can see it for yourself. But he said it. And this is exactly what he's exacting right now. Now, here's the thing, though. What in the F is going on? Are we talking about Greenland now? Are we talking about Cuba? Shoot, are we talking about Panama? Panama! What in the hell is going on? Oh, yeah. Did I say Greenland? I think I said Greenland. But what the hell's going on? What in the hell's going on? Now he is going after everything. Have you not noticed that? He's going after everything. He's like, well, that was successful, completely obliterated the regime. Now we gotta go after Cuba. So now he's going after Cuba. There's been talks of Panama. There's been talks of Greenland. But right now, the conversation is about Cuba. And don't get me wrong. Here's the thing. I don't know what Cuba has as far as natural resources. I don't know, honestly. But it is very interesting that they're interested in looking over at Cuba. What for? What for? I think it's also very interesting that you have somebody just said this, so it just reminded me. 01968 1968 said something that's very true. Kind of Russia. We kind of Russia right now. We went in, but here's the thing. Is Venezuela going to retaliate? That is a question I think all of us would like to know. But this is very, very Russian. Privyet, comrade. This is very Russian. Kind of like what they're doing with Ukraine. Come in, they're trying to boom, 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 take it out, take over the land, right? This is our land, right? Now we're looking at the same situation. Trump flew in, did a covert operation right under our noses, behind our backs, while we were asleep, took the leader of that country, and now they're going to seize the land. He just said, we are running Venezuela. This is our B. Ain't that crazy? Ain't that crazy? That's wild. So Venezuela, if this was prison terms, Venezuela is wearing that Kool-Aid lipstick, holding the inside pocket of a person named America. Can you believe that? And if this is successful, what comes next? And here's the other thing, too. How's Congress going to react to all this? He just did Venezuela. I'm just asking the questions, y'all. Just think about this. He did Venezuela, knowing behind their backs, literally, while we were all asleep, while Congress was asleep. If he did this and this was successful, it was successful. They got the guy. Now, the transition of regime, I don't think it's going to be as clean and as easy as America, as Trump thinks it's going to be. I really don't. I think there's going to be a lot of bloodshed. I hate to say that, but I think there's going to be a lot of bloodshed. I really do. But aside from that, this operation was successful. They got their guy and his wife, and he's looking at some serious charges. So then what is next? What is next? Because you know for a fact, come on now, we know Trump. He loves power. If he's successful here in Venezuela, he's already has his sights on Colombia. Now he's talking about Cuba. Now they're talking about Panama. Look, they're even talking about Greenland, which we're going to look at here in a second too, in a little while. Is he just looking to be the new Putin? Is he trying to be like Alexander the Great or the likes of Napoleon and just take over whatever he can? Like I said, I got questions, y'all. I got questiones, and I'm asking you guys, is this a good thing or not? Remember, one thing is for sure. One of the largest what's the word? Amount of oil. I don't know the term, but the largest amount of oil is in Venezuela. He got it now. Transition of power is going to be tough because you know for a fact the rest of that regime, Venezuela's regime is not going to just sit there. And they're not going to take this sitting down. They are going to react. This is not going to be a peaceful transition of power. This is going to be a hard one. Our loved ones are going to be deployed in Venezuela, the ones that fight for our country, that protect and serve our country, right? They're going to be deployed down there. All over oil. This ain't about Fenty. This is about oil. So again, thank you. That's what I meant. Has the largest oil reserves. Thank you so much. Thank you. See, brain fried. But you get what I'm saying, okay? Largest oil reserves. This is big. So we already knew all the BS. We knew that this was more than just him trying to protect hundreds of thousands of Americans from fentanyl. It's very, very, very dangerous drug. Very dangerous, very. Of the likes you've never seen before. That's BS. That's BS. It's about that oil. So let's take a look at this. Perp walk, y'all. Perp walk time. And then some.
Overnight, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife touching down on U.S. soil surrounded by federal agents. ABC News obtaining these images showing the ousted leader handcuffed on the tarmac in New York, dressed in a blue sweatshirt, sandals, and a black beanie flanked by DEA agents, just hours after being captured and removed by American forces. It capped off a dramatic military operation that ended with President Trump declaring the U.S. will now run Venezuela and seize control of its oil reserves, vowing to take a, quote, tremendous amount of wealth out of the ground.
There it is. That's it. That's all we need to know. This is not him going, we're going to stop the fentanyl from coming into our country. And then at the same time, since it's this there already, we're just going to take the oil. No, this was his plan the entire time. You understand that, right? Come on now. We all knew that. We all knew that. At some point, you're going, wow, he's double tapping on boats. Little tiny boats. Are we sure that's the only reason why he's double tapping? Or is there something else going on here? He says it right here. Tremendous amounts of wealth out of the ground. Oh, crazy. Right? So, crazy. Here's the other thing, too. Can he run another country? Asking for a friend, can he actually run another country? Can he legally go out there and just take over another country and say, we are running it now? It is ours? I'm just curious. Something to think about. Let's move on.
We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. So we don't want to be involved with having somebody else get in, and we have the same situation that we had for the last long period of years.
The president offered few details on how exactly the U.S. will take charge, telling our Selena Wang the team behind him, key members of his cabinet, will take the lead.
It's largely going to be, for a period of time, the people that are standing right behind me. We're going to be running it. Venezuela has a lot of bad people in there, a lot of bad people that shouldn't be leading. We're not going to take a chance that one of those people take over for Maduro.
But the president, who campaigned on keeping America out of foreign conflict, did not rule out sending in U.S. troops.
We're not afraid of it. We don't mind saying it. But we're going to make sure that that country is run properly. We're not doing this in vain.
The capture, known as Operation Absolute Resolve, came after months of planning, gathering intelligence to understand how Maduro moved, from how he lived to what he wore and ate. The president giving the green light at 10:46 p.m. Eastern on Friday, with this message to U.S. forces and intel agencies: good luck and Godspeed.
That is crazy that he literally gave them the green light. Like he gave them like, what's up? Start going. Turn on all the planes, get the helicopters going, get that boat moving. It's time to get them. Pretty insane, right? Now, again, it's funny how this is so crazy how he's saying that we're not at war. Like he's trying so hard not to say the phrase, we are at war with Venezuela. He is trying so hard not to do that because you know why? He's supposed to be President Peace. Remember last term, on his way out, he said, I never started a war. He's like, I'm one of the only presidents that is trying to bring peace and not bring turmoil or war to our front door or to other countries' front door. And now this is going on. You mean to tell me we're not at war with Venezuela? He hasn't declared it a war. That's the thing. He'll dance around the word, but he won't say, yes, we are indeed, boom, right? Yeah, that's what I truly think too. Hold on. I agree with that. Hold on. Where did that go? Petin. Hopefully I'm saying that right. No disrespect, but America has a new territory in 2026. Yep. That's what I truly think. It's like Puerto Rico. Real talk. Venezuela is now a new territory. That's what I truly think. Until we're told otherwise. But I really do not think that the Venezuelan people, aside from the ones that are rejoicing in the streets, because there are those that are rejoicing in the streets, I really doubt that everybody is going to just be happy with this transition. And I think there's going to be a lot of retaliation. We're going to get into that in a second. Let's let this thing cook.
We think, we develop, we train, we rehearse, we debrief, we rehearse again and again, not to get it right, but to ensure that we cannot get it wrong.
More than 150 U.S. aircrafts launching from 20 different bases across the Western Hemisphere under the cover of darkness. The president and his national security team watching from Mar-a-Lago. Videos circulating online showing explosions near a Venezuelan military base and port as U.S. helicopters arrived in Caracas around 2 a.m. local time Saturday morning, where they faced heavy gunfire. The president says Maduro tried to get to a safe room.
He was trying to get into a safe place. You know, the safe place is all steel.
Panic room.
And he wasn't able to make it to the door because our guys were so fast.
U.S. forces capturing Maduro and his wife from his own country, taken to the USS Iwo Jima. President Trump posting this picture of Maduro on board.
Nicolas Maduro had multiple opportunities to avoid this. He was provided multiple very, very, very generous offers and chose instead to act like a wild man.
Back home, members of Congress caught off guard, only notified after the operation began. Some this morning questioning the legality. But President Trump standing by the operation, saying Maduro's capture should serve as a warning to the rest of the world.
But I will never allow terrorists and criminals to operate with impunity against the United States. This extremely successful operation should serve as warning to anyone who would threaten American sovereignty or endanger American lives.
President Trump says no American lives were lost. The president also says that Maduro's vice president will now serve as the country's interim leader. But again, there are still these big questions on what exactly comes next, including how the U.S. plans to take control of Venezuela and whether or not we will see American troops on the ground, Janae.
So many questions.
I mean, that's the thing. First off, yes, there will be troops on the ground because the transition is not going to be an easy transition. There are already people out here that are like the vice president, now the new leader of Venezuela. They're already acting. They're already reacting, and they're not happy about what happened here. Let's be real. Okay. Delcy Rodriguez is not happy about what happened here. She's already, like I said, she's already making threats against Trump. So like I said, I don't think that Venezuela or the half of the world or half of the country that was supportive and happy to have Maduro and that are mad that Maduro is gone, they are not going to just allow this transition to just happen all easy and willy-nilly. I just don't think that. There's going to be retaliation. It may be small, but there will be. There will be. You'd think that they're going to let their liquid gold just be handed over? You see what I'm saying? You really think that they're just going to easily just go, here you go, America. Our bad. Yeah, here's the keys to the place. Enjoy. It's right there. I don't think that's going to happen that way. And here's the other thing, too. How's the rest of the world reacting to this situation? I hear Iran is not very happy about this as well. So, again, this is wild. Okay? This is some wild stuff. So let's take a look at this. This is the new leader of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez. She's feeling some type of way about this. So Venezuela's interim leader, Delcy Rodriguez, has hurled threats at Donald Trump after the capture of the country's president, Maduro. Now, we already know he is in a New York City federal jail right now. So the Supreme Court of Venezuela confirmed hardline socialist Vice President Rodriguez as Maduro's successor just hours after U.S. forces detained him and his wife, Celia Flores, and narco terrorism and drug moving charges. Okay. So he said he preferred Rodriguez in power rather than the country's opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado, adding that Maduro's VP was prepared to work with the U.S. He said she, I think, was quite gracious, but she really doesn't have a choice. This is what he said during that press conference, which we already talked about, how he said he was going to run, that the U.S. was going to run Venezuela. She is essentially willing to do what we think is necessary to make Venezuela great again. Very simple. But Maduro's loyalist, who has helped him maintain his regime for over a decade, has vented her fury at Trump's capture of Maduro, whom she called her nation's rightful leader. Now, again, what we're seeing right now could very well be the future of what we're going to see here in America, too. Think about that, too. You know, Trump's in office for 3 more years, right? And then he's supposed to step down and relinquish, leave the keys to the White House to somebody else. But there's still a possibility that he could do the same doggone thing. Stay in power forever. Just take it over. While the Venezuelan, while the American people are fighting to have a transition of power here in America too. I'm just saying it's possible. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but it is possible. You got to remember, just like Maduro having his loyalists, Trump has his loyalists as well that are going to sit there and go, well, we need to keep him in office for as long as we can. You've already heard things that Steve Bannon has been saying in interviews as well. Like, no, he will have a third term. He will. You go check it out for yourself. He has said that in podcasts, saying, oh yeah, we're going to figure it out, but he's going to be in office. It's wild, right? So again, what Maduro's doing or has been doing in his country, I don't know. There's a possibility it could happen here too. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that it is going to happen. I'm just saying there's a possibility of it happening too. But anyway, moving on. We call on the peoples of the great homeland to remain united because what was done to Venezuela can be done to anyone. So this is, of course, what she was talking about during a National Defense Council session after the U.S. military operation. Here she is, Delcy Rodriguez. And, of course, photos of his perp walk as well. So she wasn't happy about this. The brutal use of force to bend the will of the people can be carried out against any country. She ain't wrong with that. That's true. It can be. That's the reason why he's looking at the likes of Cuba, Greenland, he even talks of Panama. There's a little bit of a sprinkling of a conversation of Mexico as well. I mean, come on now. Shoot, even Colombia. Let's not forget that too. So Trump's looking at everybody. He putting cases on everybody right now. It's crazy. It's crazy, y'all. She also insinuated that she was not as on board with helping the U.S. essentially run Venezuela as Trump had suggested. Trump offered little further detail on the logistics of running Venezuela because he has no clue what he's going to do. I'm going to be real. I'm sure they're still trying to figure it out, right? They're like, okay, we just got to, stage one, getting the guy or, capturing Maduro. Now what's next? Okay, we got to figure that out, right? So I think that's what's going on, obviously. They're going to figure it out. And then it's going to be the transition part. That's going to be very difficult, I think. Don't think it's going to be an easy transition. So, of course, this country has a population of 30 million people and suggested the country's vast oil reserves would be used to fund its revival. I don't know about all that when he says we're going to suck out the marrow of this very country and we're going to sales it back to the people. I don't know if that's helping the country, right? But we'll see about all that. But others are skeptical of Rodriguez being a willing assistant to Trump's plans. I don't think that we can count on Delcy Rodriguez to be friendly to the U.S. until she proves it. This is what Senate Intelligence Committee Chairman Tom Cotton, said on CNN's State of the Union with Dana Bash on Sunday. So Rodriguez has not publicly mentioned going along with Trump's agenda for Venezuela, only desire to protect the country's independence. Never again will we be slaves. Never again will we be a colony of any empire. This is what she said yesterday. We're ready to defend Venezuela. I think that's important information to hear. Hearing that from the new interim leader of Venezuela, basically saying, so Trump thinks he's just going to walk in. Oh, he think he's just going to walk in and do this? He said this live. He said, I'm going to be willing to bend the knee. Oh, he got another thing coming. That's what I feel is what's coming from Delcy Rodriguez. She's saying, oh, please miss me with the nonsense, because that's definitely not going to happen. I am not bending at your will. You say jump, I'm not asking how high. We will not bend the knee. As I'll repeat what she said just a second. The last piece that we just read. Hold up. Never again will we be slaves. Never again will we be a colony of any empire. Like I said, this transition is not going to be easy. This is not going to be a smooth transition at all. Trust and believe, but we will see how it all goes down. Now, I want to share with you guys this because this happened yesterday, but I didn't get a chance to show it to you guys because of time. But John Bolton, aka the Walrus, said some things on News Nation about this whole attack. I want us to check this out. We got some things to look at, so let's rock and roll.
Security advisor to President Trump and former UN ambassador.
What? Okay.
Sir, always good to see you. I'm going to start with, how did we get here? Why now?
Well, I must say, information is still incomplete, but I'm delighted that Maduro has been captured and extracted. I wished we'd been able to do that in 2018, 2019, when the opposition tried to overthrow Maduro. We have significant American national security interests at stake. However, this is maybe step one of a much longer process. Maduro's gone. The regime is still in place. According, again, to limited information, Delcy Rodriguez, the vice president, Vladimir Padrino, the defense minister, Jorge Rodriguez, the president of the National Assembly, are still in place. And it's interesting, we'll know more when Trump speaks at 11, but the president's rationale is a law enforcement rationale. There is the warrant for Maduro's arrest. The operation is said to have been carried out largely by law enforcement personnel with protective support from the military. And as you just noted, Hegseth and Rubio had briefed Congress that regime change was not the answer. So I'm not sure how much more there is to celebrate. I'm glad Maduro is gone. But if the regime remains, the threat to America remains, and the harm done to the Venezuelan people remains.
You worked in this White House under President Trump. Can you give us a sense of the thought process behind the scenes and the conversations among the president and the administration that eventually led up to this?
Well, I think it's still unclear whether illegal narcotics is the real issue here or whether it's an effort at regime change. The comparison to Manuel Noriega in Panama 35 years ago to the day, as you point out, is interesting, but doesn't take you very far. Noriega was overthrown not just because of his drug trafficking, although he was ultimately convicted of that, but because of threats and actual harm to American personnel and their families, and grave concern over the safety of the Panama Canal. There was no real foreign influence in Panama like there is in Venezuela, Russia, Cuba, China, Iran, all having significant stakes in keeping the regime, with or without Maduro, in place. So we don't really know much about what the administration's thinking is, to the extent there was much, other than the extraction of Maduro, which I'll say again is a plus for sure, but not the end of the story.
Yeah, the reason I asked you that and the timing of this,
I need to emphasize that. I totally agree with what he is saying there. It ain't over yet. As much as people out here, American people, that have every right to be excited about this news, thinking that, yes, they just took down a tyrannical dictator in this country, which obviously is a good thing. I think taking this guy down is a good thing, but their intentions were not truly to just take this guy down. There is more to this, right? But at the same time, and of course, this is imperialism. We will talk about that in a second. But at the same time, this ain't done. They've only just begun. Okay? It's just the beginning. That's it. That's it. Bolton is not wrong with that. Let's continue.
as Maduro's capture comes just days after the Venezuelan leader signaled an openness to work with the U.S. to stop drug trafficking and to collaborate on oil. Why do you believe he was captured now?
Because there's absolutely no reason to negotiate with Maduro about anything. Back in 2019, we said the only thing we'd negotiate with Maduro about was what he wanted to have for lunch on the plane taking him to Havana, Cuba, when he stepped down. The Biden administration made a critical mistake in 2024 in negotiating with Maduro and believing that he would actually conduct free and fair elections, as to which there was zero chance that was going to happen. So when you're facing a regime and a figure like Maduro, they used negotiations for their own purposes. It was never serious, and I don't think should have, and obviously did not, slow down the effort to capture him.
You said something very interesting. Maduro is gone, but the administration is in place. Venezuela's vice president is asking the U.S. for proof of life. What do you think comes next for Maduro at this point? What does this mean for the future of Venezuela?
Well, for Maduro, presumably he'll be brought back to the United States. And just to be clear, he now has to be convicted in a U.S. court. And I hope the administration has the evidence to do that. For Venezuela, it's still very unclear that the hold of the regime doesn't depend on Maduro alone. This is a regime that came to power 30 years ago, 30 plus, with Hugo Chavez. Maduro's his successor. It's held together through many crises before. A key question here, again, we have incomplete information. How much was the Venezuelan opposition involved of, or at least aware of, what the U.S. did overnight? Are they prepared to govern if it comes to that? Are they prepared to protect themselves against repression from Rodriguez and Padrino and others who are perfectly capable of it? Are they safe? Or are they now in danger? And probably most importantly of all, what will Russia, Cuba, China, and Iran do with in the face of this capture of Maduro? Will they stand by the regime? I expect they will, because they have very strong interest in keeping it in power. So we need to watch all of these things in the coming days.
Thank you for watching.
Yes. Yeah, like I said, I think right now we are in a very, very tense time, because it's not only going to be the people of Venezuela that are going to be upset about this. We're also talking about other countries jumping into the group chat about this whole situation as well. And other countries of the likes of, let's just say, Iran, not very excited about this information either. They are condemning this situation. Let's take a look at this.
Should be for the Americans, that the United States would have a preeminent place in the Western Hemisphere. Jump forward in time to Teddy Roosevelt. He added his own twist, and he essentially said, if you are going to be a bad government, if you are going to not play by the rules, the United States reserves the right to intervene. Throughout the 20th century, Truman, Nixon, Reagan, H.W. Bush, you name it, American presidents have followed this model, and now with President Trump, he is adding his name to those history books. We have intervened. We have removed a terrorist leader from a terrorist government, and now Maduro is going to face American justice. This sends a message to Beijing. It sends a message to Moscow that you can try and meddle in the Western Hemisphere, but there's only a point. There's a point at which the United States will say, no, this is our hemisphere, and we will intervene.
And this is a post that I was mentioning there from the Foreign Ministry in Iran. They said the Foreign Ministry of the Islamic Republic of Iran strongly condemns the U.S. military attack on Venezuela and the blatant violation of the country's national sovereignty and territorial integrity. The U.S. military attack on Venezuela constitutes a clear violation of the fundamental principles of the United Nations Charter and the basic rules of international law. Now, this chapter that they're talking about, the actual law itself prohibits the threat or use of force and fully qualifies as a, quote, act of aggression. It must be explicitly and immediately condemned by the United Nations and by all states that are committed to the rule of law, as well as to international peace and security. The U.S. military aggression against an independent state that is a member of the United Nations represents a grave breach of regional and international peace and security. And we also
Now, I want you guys to see that, right? They're obviously, Iran is not happy about this information, is not happy about this turn of events. Now, here's the thing. I mean, let's be real. The U.S. is nothing to mess with. I think we all know that for sure. Okay? USA ain't nothing to F with. Okay? Let's be real. We all know that. But at the same time, that does not mean that there are people or other countries out there that are willing to try to fight or retaliate against a country that is not to be messed with. So you got to understand, just because you have somebody who's sitting here going like, I'm all about peace, I don't want to start no fights, I don't want to start nothing, does not mean that the fight can't show up to their front door. That's something that I think is very concerning. Now, of course, yes, Iran. I see that Iran after ran and found out. Yeah, heck, Seth. Iran, yeah, they effed around, and they most definitely found out very quickly not to mess with the likes of America. But that was one time. That was one moment. Now, I know that there's been other things, other wars, other situations that we've had with Iran. We have quite the past with Iran. But like I said, that doesn't mean just because it is a war or it is a battle or a fight that we always win does not mean that that is peace. That's not bringing peace to the American people. That is still war. That is still conflict. That is still issues. You see what I'm saying? So as much as he says, I'm about peace, which I believed he was in the very beginning, now, not so much. Now he's putting cases on everybody, like I said before. That Denzel Training Day scene. I'm putting cases on everybody. That's exactly what he's doing right now. Why? Is it really to, well, I mean, this one was obvious. Venezuela, very obvious. It was about mother-loving oil. That's it. It's oil. He want that oil. We already know about that. But everything else, why? Why Cuba? Is it really just to overthrow the regime or something else? What the heck is really going on here? Why? ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué? You see, you know, the Spanish is working now. See, Spanish in 60 days. Okay. But ¿por qué? Right? Why? Is he suddenly now going after everything? Now, some people think it's because of Epstein. Yeah, I said it. Some people think it's just because he wants to take this over and that this is just a perfect example of imperialism. So I got to explain to you what imperialism is, okay? For some of you guys that may not know what imperialism, okay? This is like taking us back to high school history class, right? But imperialism is a policy or practice where a country extends its power and influence over other territories, often through direct territorial conquest, economic control, or political domination, using military force or subtler means like economic or cultural influence to establish dominance and exploit resources. So you know, that is what imperialism is. Is that not what we're looking at right now? Listen, like I said before, he's taking over Venezuela. It might get a little shaky to take it over, but it will happen. They will eventually bend a knee, or it will be a long fight forever, right? The Venezuelan people, military, whatnot, will just keep on fighting against the American people, you know, that America's even in there. Or they may just go ahead, man, go. But I doubt that's going to happen. I think there will be retaliation. But while there's retaliation over there, he's looking at all these other places as well. He's looking at Nigeria. Let's not forget Nigeria. I forgot about that. On Christmas Day, as Christians in Nigeria, I hate to say that, but as Christians in Nigeria are celebrating the birth of our Lord, he's dropping bombs on Nigeria. He's putting cases out on everybody right now. Why? Why is he trying to poke a sleeping bear, which is war? The bear is war, just so you know, okay? War. Why is he poking a sleeping bear right now, of all things? Why? Think about it. Is it Epstein file stuff? Is he trying to avoid that ish? What's really going on here? You see what I'm saying? This is pretty crazy stuff, y'all. It breaks my heart. It really does break my heart. Because I don't think it's only for him to just protect and free the people of Venezuela. It's clearly about something else. Right now, it's oil for Venezuela. What does he want from Nigeria? Clearly, it has nothing to do with persecution of Christians. But that's what they put out here in front of us so that we think, oh, he's doing the Lord's work, protecting the persecuted Christians out there. When in actuality, that's not the truth. Nigeria is rich in minerals and natural resources as well. This is also the other reason why he's looking at the likes of Greenland right now. Those, they make sense, but I'm wondering why does he want to go for Cuba? We gotta look at that here. But just so you know, just a quick recap, Iran's not happy about this situation with what happened to Venezuela. And I wonder if Cuba, I'm sorry, not Cuba, if China is happy about this situation as well. Because that is a sleeping bear you do not want to wake up. Definitely. Issues and conflict with China? I don't think that's a good thing, y'all. That would not be a good thing. But let's take a look at this. Marco Rubio speaks on everything. He speaks on the strikes, capturing Maduro, but then he also talks about how they have their eyes set on Cuba. Let's take a look.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Secretary Rubio, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. I want to start with this big picture question. Is the United States now at war with Venezuela?
There's not a war. I mean, we are at war against drug trafficking organizations. It's not a war against Venezuela. We are enforcing American laws with regards to oil sanctions. We have sanctioned entities. We go to court. We get a warrant. We seize those boats with oil, and that will continue. We would continue to reserve the right to take strikes against drug boats that are bringing drugs towards the United States that are being operated by transnational criminal organizations, including the Cartel de los Sols. Of course, the leader of that cartel is now in U.S. custody and facing U.S. justice in the Southern District of New York, and that's Nicolas Maduro. So we made a big progress in that regard.
Mr. Secretary, who is in charge? Are you running Venezuela right now?
Yeah, I mean, I keep people, fixating on that. Here's the bottom line on it is we expect to see changes in Venezuela. Changes of all kinds, long-term, short-term. We'd love to see all kinds of changes, but the most immediate changes are the ones that are in the national interest of the United States. That's why we're involved here, because of how it applies and has a direct impact on the United States. Okay, we are not going to be able to allow in our hemisphere a country that becomes a crossroads for the activities of all of our adversaries around the world. We just can't allow it. We can't have a country where the people in charge of its military and in charge of its police department are openly cooperating with drug trafficking organizations. We're not going to allow that. These things are direct threats to the United States. And we intend to use every element of leverage that we have to ensure that changes. The one I would point everyone to is that our military is helping the Coast Guard conduct a law enforcement function, which is not just the capture of Maduro, but the enforcement of our sanctions. We go to court, we get a warrant, we seize the boats. And we think this is tremendous leverage, incredible, crippling leverage, which we intend to continue to use until we see the changes that we need to see that are benefit to the American people. And by the way, we believe to the people of Venezuela as well.
But Mr. Secretary, I think there's a lot of questions about who the point people are during this transition. President Trump said, we're going to run the country. So is it you? Is it Secretary Hegseth? Who are those people who will be running the country specifically?
Good question. Thank you.
Well, it's not running, it's running policy. The policy with regards to this, we want Venezuela to move in a certain direction because not only do we think it's good for the people of Venezuela, it's in our national interest. It either touches on something that's a threat to our national security or touches on something that's either beneficial or harmful.
And are you involved in that transition,
and so obviously
Secretary?
I'm very involved in this. Well, of course. I mean, I think everyone knows I'm pretty involved on politics in this hemisphere. Obviously, as Secretary of State and National Security Advisor, very involved in all these elements. The Department of War plays a very important role here, along with the Department of Justice, for example, because they're the ones that have to go to court. So this is a team effort by the entire national security apparatus of our country, but it is running this policy. And the goal of the policy is to see changes in Venezuela that are beneficial to the United States, first and foremost, because that's who we work for, but also, we believe, beneficial for the people of Venezuela, who have suffered tremendously. We want a better future for Venezuela, and we think a better future for the people of Venezuela also is stabilizing for the region and makes the neighborhood we live in a much better and safer place.
Hold on. Because I find it very interesting that the angle in which they're trying to go, like, look, we're trying to be, we out here trying to be Captain Save-A-Ho. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to be the righteous people that come in and try to swoop in and save the people of Venezuela. Don't you see? We're doing everything we can to help the people. This has nothing to do with any of that other stuff. This is about freeing this country. No, it's not. No, it's not. You see how they're blanketing the information when in actuality behind that blanket is actually the freaking truth? Look at us. We're doing God's work. We're saving the people. Now, here's the thing. For those of us that only see what's on the veil, that can't see beyond the veil, they're going to sit there and eat that up. See? No, he's freeing the people. He's doing good things for everyone. Yes, make America great and blah, blah, blah. But in actuality, no. It's all a false flag. It is a Kansas City shuffle. Look at what we're doing for the people while we scoop up this big fat ass bag, which is called oil. He says, oh, no, this has nothing to do with us taking over. It's bringing policy to this country. That's not true. That's not true either. They're going to run this bee until either they get what they want or they find somebody who's going to bend a knee and say, yes, sir, no, sir, to the administration and to America. That's it. This has nothing to do with, no. Hexeth or something, somebody is going to be down there running this biznai for a minute until they find somebody who's willing to work with America and do exactly what they ask. That's it. But this is all trained BS, guys. I'm sorry, guys. I know some of y'all so angry about this stuff. Man, oh, TDS. No, just think about it. Look at what we're hearing. We saw the press conference. He said it's about oil. We're going to drill, baby, drill. And that's exactly what they're about to do. Largest oil reserves, Venezuela. It's all about oil. Policy, my ass. They're going to bring somebody in that's going to be someone who is Trump or MAGA as well, but just in Venezuela. Or a sycophant that's just hungry for power. Either way, they're going to make sure that whoever takes over that slot does exactly what America asks them to do. Let's continue.
President Trump said the administration is working with Maduro's vice president, Delcy Rodriguez. Why does the administration oppose working with the opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado? She's the Nobel Peace Prize winner, of course, as well. Her coalition has the support of 70% of Venezuelans. Why not work with her?
Thank you. Oh, wait. I'm going to answer this question before he answers it. I'm going to answer what he's. I haven't seen this full interview yet. I swear to God. And I probably am totally wrong. But he's going to make up some BS. He's going to make up some BS saying, oh, she just doesn't follow the same policies or whatever. Same things that we want, blah, blah, blah. We just don't see eye to eye to her. In other words, because she is somebody who is for the people. That's the reason why she won that Nobel Peace Prize over Trump this past year. You really think that Maria Corina Machado is going to run the country when he just lost to her? I'm telling you right now, no. And you want to know why? Because she will not bend a knee at him. And she will turn the people against Trump. Think about that for a second. So clearly, Machado would be a bad move and a bad choice for Trump because she is not a supporter of Trump. She is not a supporter of this type of leadership. Just think about that for a second. Let's hear what he says. Let's pick out what he says. Listen to the words.
Well, a couple things. First of all, Maria Corina Machado is fantastic, and she's someone I've known for a very long time, and that whole movement is. But we are dealing with the immediate reality. The immediate reality is that, unfortunately, and sadly, but unfortunately, the vast majority of the opposition is no longer present inside of Venezuela. We have short-term things that have to be addressed right away. We all wish to see a bright future for Venezuela, a transition to democracy. All of these things are great, and we all want to see that. I've worked on that for 15 years on a personal level, both in the Senate and now as National Security Advisor and Secretary of State. These are things I still care about. We still care about.
Word.
What we're talking about is what happens over the next 2-3 weeks, 2-3 months, and how that ties to the national interest of the United States. And so we expect to see more compliance and cooperation than we were previously receiving. With Nicolas Maduro, you could not make a deal or an arrangement. Although he, by the way, was given very generous offers. He could have left Venezuela as recently as, a week and a half ago. There were opportunities available for him to avoid all of this because now he's not someone we can work with. He suckered the Biden administration into stupid deals. He's made a career out of not keeping deals and figuring out how to save himself by buying time. And President Trump was not going to fall into that trap. So
hold on.
now there are other people in charge of the military and police apparatus there. They're going to have to decide now what direction they want to go. And we hope they will choose a different direction than the one Nicolas Maduro picked. Ultimately, we hope this leads to a holistic transition all the way around in Venezuela, societal, political, all of that. We're in favor of all of that. But right now, we have to take the first steps. And the first steps are securing what's in the national interest of the United States and also beneficial to the people of Venezuela. And those are the things that we're focused on right now. No more drug trafficking, no more Iran, Hezbollah presence there, and no more using the oil industry to enrich all our adversaries around the world and not benefiting the people of Venezuela or, frankly, benefiting the United States and the region.
Oh, my God. What was that? First off, let me just say this really quick. Did you notice how he was tap dancing? You didn't see that? He must be perspiring a lot. I don't see any secretions on his face right now because he should be perspiring on how hard he just tap danced on that question. That was a word salad tap dance. Notice the pivot? You see him do that side slide over to, well, Biden and such. See, what had happened was if Biden was still in office, and what happened with Biden is this, that, and the third. This wouldn't have happened under different administrations, but Biden. Isn't that interesting? But in the very beginning, did you not notice what he said? He said, yes, we want the regime, like the government, to get back to a more holistic place and get the right kind of leader in there. But we're talking about the immediate future, the next 2 to 3 weeks, 2 months, 2-3 months. What? Why not bring in somebody holistic? Why not bring in the right person, the right leader, a person that's going to be there for the people and try to make that country better and make that government better now? That's what we should be talking about right now. Over the next 2 weeks, 2-3 months, that's exactly what should be happening. But no. The next 2-3 weeks, 2-3 months, he wants to get all the oil. He wants to get access. That's what it is. It has nothing to do with them trying to make this country better, make Venezuela great again. No, it's not that. Because if they really cared about what was going on in that government and for the people, they would have brought in the likes of Machado. But they're not doing that. Because you know for a fact, Nobel Peace Prize winner, 2025 Nobel Peace Prize winner, Maria Corina Machado, would be a very bad move for the Trump administration right now. Eventually. But in the next 2-3 weeks, 2-3 months, we need to get monies. We need to get that oil. We need to get that liquid gold. They don't care about helping the people. If they cared about helping the people, Marco Rubio would be saying something completely different right there. He would have said, yes, we would love to bring her in. But this transition of power needs to be this, that, and the third. But they're not doing that. He just tap danced the hell out of that whole thing. And then he did a side slide. He did a shuffle ball change into Biden. Have mercy. They don't care about changing anything over there. They want monies. They want that oil. And here it is. If it's not Machado, fine. But find somebody that cares about the people, not put some other tyrannical terrorist or dictator back into office. That's it, right? That should have been the answer, but that wasn't the answer. Let's continue.
Talk about a holistic transition. I think there's a lot of focus on potential elections. How soon will elections be held? Within 30 days, Mr. Secretary?
Elections? Well, look, this is a country that's been governed by this regime now for 14 or 15 years. The elections should have happened a long time ago. The elections did happen. They lost them, and they didn't count the votes, or they refused to count the votes, and everyone knows it. So all of that, I think, is premature at this point. There's a lot of work to be done here. Right now, what we are focused in, let's be realistic here. What we are focused on right now is all of the problems we had with when Maduro was there. We still have those problems in terms of them needing to be addressed. We are going to give people an opportunity to address those challenges and those problems. Until they address it, they will continue to face this oil quarantine. They will continue to face pressure from the United States. We will continue to target drug boats if they try to run towards the United States. We will continue to seize the boats that are sanctioned with court orders. We will continue to do that, and potentially other things, until the things we need to see addressed are addressed. Because ultimately, above everything else, we care about elections, we care about democracy, we care about all of that. But the number one thing we care about is the safety, security, well-being, and prosperity of the United States. And that's
okay. If that's the safety and well-being of the United States, then why aren't we focusing on the United States then, right? Let's talk about that for a second. Instead of government shutdowns and people going hungry and all the things that we've seen recently over the past couple months, that what's going on over here is not a conversation for the American people. I think there's a lot of people that feel that way. Focus on what's going on domestically, because there's a lot of problems going on domestically that have not been handled. They say certain things are happening, but they're not being seen to be true. Right? You know, gas being $1.99. We already had that conversation the other day. It's not true. There's other things, of course. The economy is, there's a lot of things going on. Doesn't matter if we're the hottest country in the world. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the people within the country are fighting to just get a dozen, be able to pay for a loaf of bread and a dozen eggs. It's crazy. But as you can see, the focus is completely off kilter. All right. The focus is completely off kilter from what I'm seeing.
That's what we're going to focus on first and foremost here. And that's what these policies, these changes we need to see made are about.
Okay, significant there. You say you will.
Policies that need to be changed. He keeps saying policies that need to be changed. In other words, and yes, I agree, there should be. It's not like they could just hand the keys to the country over to Maria Corina Machado. But at the same time, yes, making sure that the election, whenever that election happens, is not corrupt, that it's legal and it's legally done. Abso-freaking-lutely, right? Those things I agree with, absolutely. But why wait? Make those things, make those changes, make those things happen soon. Do the proper vetting, etc. But I don't think that they're wanting to do that transition so soon. Here's the other thing, too. Here's another thing I want to point out. Let's not forget Rodriguez, the interim leader, interim president of Venezuela right now. Of course, she's obviously angry, but she's still the interim president of Venezuela right now. You see what I'm saying? You have somebody who is just as corrupt as Maduro, as the interim leader of that country. So nothing's changed. Think about that. His influence, his ways, how he's run the country will continue to be the same if the likes of any semblance of Maduro's influence, what have you, is still in office. His vice president is in office right now. So has anything changed? Has anything changed? Especially if she's sitting here saying, we will not be a slave. We will not be slaves again and become a colony of an empire. She is saying that verbatim right now, guys. I'm just spitting facts, y'all. She is saying that in real time. So has anything changed? Will anything change? If you're going to take the whole thing, if you're going to take it down, take the whole mother-loving thing down. You don't just pass the torch over to the person who learned from the best, learned from this tyrannical dictator. You see what I'm saying?
Continue to seize boats when necessary. I want to ask you about boots on the ground. A lot of attention on that. The president was asked about the possibility of U.S. boots on the ground. He said, quote, "We're not afraid of it." How many U.S. forces are on the ground right now in Venezuela?
Good question.
Are there any?
We don't have U.S. forces on the ground in Venezuela. No, we don't have U.S. forces on the ground. Everyone knows. They were on the ground for about 2 hours when they went to capture Maduro. And I think what the president is saying is very simple, and that is, as president of the United States, he is not going to go around telling people what he's not going to do. He's not going to go around saying, I won't do this, I won't do that. Yes, I care about this issue, but I'll only go so far. He retains all this optionality. In the particular case you're citing, this was, in essence, at its core, a law enforcement function. Okay, the Department of Justice, dating back in the Biden administration, that had a $25 million reward for his capture. So we have a reward for his capture, but we're not going to enforce it. That's the difference between President Trump and everybody else. All these, it's easy to make a wanted poster and say $50 million for the capture of Maduro, but no one takes that seriously because you're not going to do anything about it. President Trump did something about it.
Let me ask you.
He did something about it. We went in, we grabbed him. He was arrested, and he's now in New York. No Americans were killed. No equipment was lost. It had to be done, and it's been done. And I assure you, the people left behind in Venezuela now that are in charge of the police and everything else, I assure you, they're going to probably be a lot more compliant than Maduro was as a result of this.
Well, President Trump told the New York Post there won't be troops in Venezuela as long as Delcy Rodriguez, quote, does what we want. She's already, though, demanding the release of Nicolas Maduro. As you know, she's insisting that her country never become a colony. What exactly does Rodriguez need to do to keep U.S. troops out of Venezuela?
Well, forget about the U.S. troops portion of it. What needs to happen for any of this to change, for our relations with Venezuela to change and our whole approach to it to change, the things we have talked about are the ones I've highlighted already. You can't flood this country with gang members. You can't flood this country with drugs that are coming out of Colombia through Venezuela with the cooperation of elements of your security forces. You can't turn Venezuela into the operating hub for Iran, for Russia, for Hezbollah, for China, for the Cuban intelligence agents that control that country. That cannot continue. Those things cannot continue to be in place. You cannot continue to have the largest oil reserves, in the world under the control of adversaries of the United States, not benefiting the people of Venezuela and stolen by a handful of oligarchs around the world, including inside of Venezuela, but not benefiting the people of that country. We've seen how our adversaries all over the world are exploiting and extracting resources from Africa, from every other country. They're not going to do it in the Western Hemisphere. Yeah. They're not. That is not going to happen under President Trump. Read our national security strategy. He is serious about it, and he's going to do something about it, and we're doing something about it.
Let me ask you about oil. The president says the U.S. is taking over the oil. The question is, I guess, if the purpose of the operation was to capture Maduro and bring him to justice, why does the United States need to take over the Venezuelan oil industry?
Another good question.
Well, we don't need
straight down to it.
First of all, let me go back up. We don't need Venezuela's oil. We have plenty of oil in the United States. What we're not going to allow is for the oil industry in Venezuela to be controlled by adversaries of the United States. You have to understand, why does China need their oil? Why does Russia need their oil? Why does Iran need their oil? They're not even in this continent. This is the Western Hemisphere. This is where we live. And we're not going to allow the Western Hemisphere to be a base of operation for adversaries, competitors, and rivals of the United States.
Have
Simple as
specific
that.
oil
We
companies.
also want to see that oil and the proceeds from it. Hold on. We want to see the oil proceeds of that country benefit the people of Venezuela. Why have 8 million people left Venezuela? 8 million, the single largest mass migration probably in modern history, left Venezuela since 2014 because all the wealth of that country was stolen to the benefit of Maduro and his cronies in the regime, but not to the benefit of people of Venezuela. You know how destabilizing 8 million migrants is? The number one fear that Brazil has, that Colombia has, that all these countries in the region have about what's happening in Venezuela and our involvement is they're afraid of another mass migration event. That's what they fear. This is deeply destabilizing stuff. It's not going to continue to happen. They are not going to come from outside of our hemisphere, destabilize our region in our own backyard, and us have to pay the price for it. Not under President Trump.
Let's talk big picture here. U.S. regime change, historically speaking, has not gone very well for the United States. In Iraq, in Libya, to name a few examples. Can you assure Americans, the people of the United States, that this time will be different?
Well, here's what's happened.
I'm sorry. Let me roll that back. That question is hilarious because it sounds like, like a toxic relationship, right? It's like, okay, tell me that this is going to be different this time. It's not going to be different. It's going to be the same crap, right? But nonetheless, this is here it is. What he said just a second ago. Sure, it's about. You realize that what he's saying in real time is exactly what I've been saying. He's like, no, we don't want outside adversaries having access to oil that's within our hemisphere, within hours away from us. There's no way that Russia, China, Iran, etc., are going to have access to the oil that's right under our noses. Are you out of your mind? This has nothing to do with this has everything to do with us taking over that oil. And I'm going to tell you this too. Let me tell you this. It'll be hugely beneficial for us at the end of the day. When this whole thing gets going, it is beneficial for us. I'm not going to sit here and lie about that. I'm not going to sit here and say there isn't benefits of us taking over that oil in Venezuela. I don't think it's the right way of how we're doing it. But it's definitely going to enrich this country. Abso-freaking-lutely. But I also say that it will come with a price, or it could potentially come with a price. Meaning, blood will be shed. There will be fights, battles, wars, whatever you want to call it, all around this particular oil reserve. Because everybody else is going to want to have their hands on it as well. That is the problem I see in the foreseeable future. That's what I'm saying. Okay? That's what I'm saying. And that's what I'm seeing. Yes, this is obviously going to be a good thing for those that have their hands in oil. A lot of people are going to get rich. Well, it will most likely be more rich individuals just making more money. But at the same time, there is benefits to it, but does it mean that it benefits everybody? I leave that question up to you guys. But he said it out loud, guys. Let's be real.
This time will be different.
Well, here's what's happened. We've got this phobia built up and this sort of thing that's it's like, number one, most of the experts that people have on television, I watch these experts and it's clown hour. Okay, these are people that have focused their entire career on the Middle East or some other part of the world because that's where all the action was. Very few of them know anything about Venezuela or the Western Hemisphere. Venezuela looks nothing like Libya. It looks nothing like Iraq. It looks nothing like Afghanistan. It looks nothing like the Middle East other than the Iranian agents that are running through there plotting against America. Okay, these are Western countries with long traditions among their at a people-to-people and cultural level and ties to the United States. So there's nothing like that. So I think people need to stop ascribing the apples and oranges here, the apples of the Middle East to the oranges of the Western Hemisphere.
But do you?
Number two, this is about the national interest of the United States. And what I'm confident of is we are in a safer and better place because we're taking it seriously. The alternative would have been to leave Maduro there as an indicted drug trafficker, illegitimate president, running the country, open invitation for all of our adversaries to do whatever they want against the United States from Venezuela. That was not going to continue. What the alternative would have been to allow a drug trafficker to continue to use national territory and elements of nation state power to further drug trafficking organizations. Read the indictment. This guy used the levers of their security apparatus not to arrest drug traffickers, but to cooperate and facilitate the trafficking of drugs for the purpose of getting them into the United States. And that's going to stop.
And yet, Mr. Secretary, a month ago, President Trump pardoned the former president of Honduras, who was just starting a 45-year sentence for trafficking more than 500 tons of cocaine. Does that not undercut the administration's stated goal, as you just said, to go after these narco-terrorists?
Number one, the former president of Honduras. So this is not someone who was in power, had any influence of the politics of Honduras any longer. Number two, I don't do the pardon file. I'm not against it or for it. I just didn't review the file. So I can't speak to you about the dynamics that led the president to make the decision that he made. I think he talked about it yesterday at the press conference. He reviewed the file. He went through the arguments in it, and he felt that the former president of Honduras was treated very unfairly by the previous administration and made the decision that he made. But I think the answer, whether you agree with that decision or not, people can disagree. I mean, there's people out there who make a living out of disagreeing with anything President Trump does. That doesn't mean you leave Maduro in place. That doesn't mean you don't go after Maduro. That's not the answer. I see people saying that. It's like, well, you know, how can you go after Maduro if you didn't do this? That's absurd. The answer to that, whether you have a problem with it or not, is not to leave in place someone who's been indicted, who hasn't even faced American justice yet, but now will.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. I was referencing, obviously, the former president. White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles told Vanity Fair that an attack on Venezuela's mainland would require approval from Congress. Why didn't that happen? And will it happen with any future action the administration plans to take in Venezuela or elsewhere?
I'm very happy she's asking. This is a very, very good interview. I'm very glad that they're asking all of it. Because let's be real. The fact that you have Congress not even knowing that this happened is diabolical, y'all. I'm going to say it. That is insane. That he went over the heads or behind the backs of Congress to do this. He had a conversation with the likes of Pete Hegseth, Marco Rubio, Stephen Miller, Dr. Evil. Okay. All these, his little team, he had his conversation in the Oval Office, and they exacted all of this without the approval or the knowledge of the Congress. That's insane.
This was not an action that required congressional approval. In fact, it couldn't require congressional approval because this was not an invasion. This is not an extended military operation. This is a very precise operation that involved a couple of hours of action. It was a very delicate operation, too. It was one that required all these conditions to be in place at the right time in the right place. You couldn't afford leaks. We couldn't afford anything out there that would have endangered the mission and gotten people killed or killed off the mission and the optionality. We didn't even know if the mission was going to happen. How can you notify something you're not even sure if it can happen? Because in order for it to happen, you needed to have weather conditions in place. He needed to be at the right place at the right time. We needed to have forces prepared to go. There were a lot of factors in place. It was a trigger-based operation. But you can't notify that, number one, because you don't even know if it's going to happen, if those conditions will ever align. And number two, you can't risk it being disclosed. But this was not an attack on Venezuela. This was a law enforcement function to capture an indicted drug trafficker. And of course, we needed the Department of War to support it because they do have anti-aircraft missiles that could shoot down those helicopters.
But we
had to take down radars. We had to take down those anti-air elements on the way in and on the way out. And that's what this was limited to.
But will you seek congressional approval for any further action in Venezuela or the region?
Well, we will seek congressional approval for actions that require congressional approval, but otherwise they will get congressional notification. And this is not an operation that required congressional approval. In fact, this is an operation akin to what virtually every single president for the last 40 years has conducted. The difference is that when it's Donald Trump, all these Democrats go bonkers.
Is the Cuban government the Trump administration's next target, Mr. Secretary? very quickly?
Well, the Cuban government is a huge problem. Yeah, the Cuban government is a huge problem. First of all,
So is that a
people in
yes?
Cuba, but I don't think people fully appreciate. I think they're in a lot of trouble. Yes, I'm not going to talk to you about what our future steps are going to be
next.
and our policies are going to be right now in this regard, but I don't think it's any mystery that we are not big fans of the Cuban regime, who, by the way, are the ones that were propping up Maduro. His entire internal security force, his internal security apparatus is entirely controlled by Cubans. One of the untold stories here is how, in essence, you talk about colonization, because I think you said Dulce Rodriguez mentioned that the ones who have sort of colonized, at least inside the regime, are Cubans. It was Cubans that guarded Maduro. He was not guarded by Venezuelan bodyguards. He had Cuban bodyguards. In terms of their internal intelligence, who spies on who inside to make sure there are no traitors, those are all Cubans.
All right.
Wow. That's very interesting information, though, too, that the people that were there protecting and working along with Maduro were actual Cubans. So, of course, they're like, F that. F that. If he got friends, he got friends in low places. He's like, nah, man, nah, we good. You friends with them? I bet we gonna go over and have a conversation with Cuba. Ain't that is something. I will say that is something. And again, like I said, this can't be a situation where. Let me just say this. I will be surprised. First off, really good interview. I'm very glad all those questions were asked. Of course, there's plenty of other questions that need to be asked, but of course, we don't have that right now. But here's something. I just really doubt that this whole thing is just going to go off without a hitch. I know that Trump and the administration are busy congratulating themselves, very excited, very happy about the outcome of what happened here. It was a successful attack. It was successful. They got their guy. And now they're going to go in and they're going to get that oil. But I really wonder if this is going to be as easy as they think it's going to be. We'll see what happens, though, right? We got to see what Marjorie Taylor Greene had to say about this. Now, I think it's interesting because isn't she out the door like tomorrow or Tuesday? I think her last day in office as a representative is coming up. Like, I think Tuesday is her last day. So she has been going scorched earth lately. She doesn't give a damn. So she's been saying all kinds of stuff. And in this particular clip, she talks about how she says or how she believes that this attack was not America first, that this was not a semblance of America first, in her particular opinion. MTG Marjorie Taylor Greene has been saying things, and I don't think this is the last we're going to hear of her. I'm going to be real. And she's been saying a lot of other things about Epstein and Trump and all that as well. That's another conversation in itself. But she has some things to say about this whole strike and this capturing of Maduro. Let's take a listen.
Welcome back. And joining me now is Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia. Congresswoman, welcome to Meet the Press.
Thanks for having me this morning.
Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Tomorrow is your last day in Congress.
Monday.
So incredibly significant to have you here.
Wait, is it Monday? I don't remember when this was recorded. Hold on. Let me check something here. Yeah, Monday is her last day. Monday is indeed her last day. That's it. Crazy, right? Crazy. So now she don't give an F. She ripping the Band-Aid off and she going ham sandwich.
Today, Congresswoman, you and President Trump, of course, had an extraordinary break last year. We'll talk all about that in just a moment. But I do want to talk about something you said this weekend in the wake of this attack against Venezuela, removing Nicolas Maduro. You said that the administration's actions were not America first. Now, the president was asked about this idea yesterday. I want to play that clip and get your reaction on the other side. Take a look.
Mr. President, why is running a country in South America America first?
Well, I think it is because we want to surround ourselves with good neighbors. We want to surround ourselves with stability. We want to surround ourselves with energy. We have tremendous energy in that country. It's very important that we protect it. We need that for ourselves. We need that for the world.
Why do you disagree, Congresswoman?
Well, you know, I served on the Homeland Security Committee for 3 years, and I am overwhelmingly in support of a strong border. I impeached Secretary Mayorkas. Those were my articles of impeachment that passed the House because fentanyl overdoses skyrocketed to 280% in my own district. And the majority of American fentanyl overdoses and deaths come from Mexico. Those are the Mexican cartels that are killing Americans. And so my pushback here is if this was really about narco terrorists and about protecting Americans from cartels and drugs being brought into America, the Trump administration would be attacking the Mexican cartels. Now, I am not defending Maduro. And of course, I'm happy for the people of Venezuela to be liberated. But Americans celebrated the liberation of the Iraqi people after Saddam Hussein. They celebrated the liberation of the Libyan people after Gaddafi. And this is the same Washington playbook that we are so sick and tired of, that doesn't serve the American people, but actually serves the big corporations, the banks, and the oil executives. And so my pushback here is on the Trump administration that campaigned on Make America Great Again, that we thought was putting America first. I want to see domestic policy be the priority that helps Americans afford life after 4 disastrous years of the Biden administration. I want to see domestic policies that prioritizes jobs and affordable housing for Americans after 4 disastrous years of the Biden administration. And I want to see domestic priorities that put Americans first in regards of health care. Health insurance costs too much, car insurance, home insurance. And these are issues that matter to Americans. We don't consider Venezuela our neighborhood. Our neighborhood is right here in the 50 United States, not in the Southern Hemisphere.
Let me just pause that really quick. First off, she has a good point there. I'm sorry, but I got to say it. I got to call balls and strikes here, guys. Okay, I'm not a fan of Marjorie Taylor Greene. Okay, just so you know, I'm not a fan of her. But lately, she's been doing quite an interesting pivot, and there's been a lot of things that I'm like, I do agree with those things. Not the Jewish lasers from space type ish. Okay, these things that she's saying right here, she's absolutely right. I agree. If it's America first, then we need to find ways to make America better. And I'm not talking about the rich and powerful. We're not talking about the 1%ers and the 1% of the 1%ers. What happened to the 99% of everybody else? Man, I'm telling you right now, I just saw my health insurance. Because, of course, you know, this is the year, this is the time that you have to renew everything and get your health insurance back up and all that stuff, right? So I went and I checked out my bill, what it would potentially become. It has gone up more than I've ever experienced, more than I expected. Like 6 times more than I expected. Something like that. 5 times, 5, 6 times. Like, it's insane, the policies now. Damn near, for me, damn near $700 a month. And that's Make America Great Again? This is better? When the policy, monthly policy was like what? For me, like $161. I'm being real. $161 a month. Now it's damn near $700 a month. Just so I can go to my primary doctor, make sure all the bells and whistles are still whistling and ringing. What in the hell? But we're busy going over to Venezuela and putting our hands in that cookie jar rather than figuring out what the hell's going on out here in this country. So they're busy trying to get the rich to get richer, and the poor continue to, you finish the sentence. How's that America first? Think about that for a second, guys. Think about that. I'm just keeping it a bean. Health insurance is insane right now. And that's, by the way, I'm sorry. Let me make that abundantly clear. That's on one person. Health insurance. That's just mine. If you are married or you have children or anything of that sort, and you're paying for all that health insurance, do you realize how expensive that is per month? Whether you have one child or you have more than one child? It is absolutely freaking insane, y'all. Insane. Health insurance has most definitely skyrocketed. It's gone through the roof, y'all. And this is supposed to be us sitting here shucking and jiving and excited about the takeover of Venezuela. I'm telling you right now, I'm not shucking and jiving and excited. I'm like, what does that change for us? For us regular people that work every single day, work to the bone just to keep the lights on and food on our table. What about us? What about us? She's absolutely right. I'm sorry. Like I said, we are in the upside down. Straight up. Even if I could make a deal with God, right? We are in the upside mother loving down. What in the world is going on? But they're sitting there self-congratulating themselves. Look at what we've done over here. We're going to bring more oil to the country. We're going to make America great again. But then you look at the bills, you look at the economy, you look at a price of bread, you look at a price of a dozen eggs, and you mean to tell me things are getting better? I'm sorry, it's not. It's not. Like I said, it's like, all the acquaintance be forgot. Happy New Year. Here's your health insurance bill now. What? This is insane, guys. Insane. So again, as much as they're saying, oh, this is great, and people out here are excited about this, and and they're watching from the nosebleed seats, you realize that we will continue to be sitting in the nosebleed seats because bills are just going higher and higher and higher to the point where we will never, us regular guys, us regular people that are working so diligently, so hard to keep lifing, we will always be in the back seat. We will never get the front row seat if it continues in this way. It's absolutely insane, guys. We should not be happy and excited about the things that are going on right now. I'm sitting here going, what's going on here? Focus on what's going on here. But their eyes and their visage is somewhere else. While we continue to fight, while we continue to starve. Rich gets richer, poor finish the rest. So like I said, how is this America first? How?
Well, let me ask you, because President Trump says he gets to decide what America first means. Does America first mean whatever President Trump says it does?
America first should mean what was promised on the campaign trail in 2024. So my understanding of America first is strictly for the American people, not for the big donors that donate to big politicians, not for the special interests that constantly roam the halls in Washington, and not foreign countries that demand their priorities put first over Americans. America first actually means for the American people, and the American people have been put last consistently decades and decades by both political parties for far too long.
How like I said, we're in the upside down. What is going Where's 11 when you need her? You know what I'm saying? Let her come in here and just push the bad juju out of here, right? What in the hell is going on here, y'all? I'm agreeing with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Do you understand? What is this? What does this all mean? Welcome to 2026, y'all. What world are we living in? Damn.
My kids' generation, my kids are 22, 26, and 28, are looking at a future where this whole entire generation doesn't think they'll ever see a Social Security check. They don't believe they'll ever be able to afford to own their own home. And 50-year mortgages are really a slap in the face. It's insulting. Americans don't want $2,000 stimulus checks as a payoff. They want to have good policies brought forth for them, because you want to know something, Kristen? They voted for this administration, and their small dollar donation should matter. And MAGA has its own enemy list, and the enemies of the world are not on their enemy list, and they're tired of being ignored.
Let me just say this, okay? She must have been reading the room. That's what I think. That's why. You know what? That's the excuse I'm giving myself, because ain't no way on God's green earth would I ever agree with Marjorie Taylor Greene, MTG, and now I'm really agreeing with her. It is weird, but maybe this is a whole ploy. This is a move, right? She's reading the room. She knows that people are very upset with Trump and the Trump administration. Yes, we still have our hardcore MAGites, okay? Those MAGA supporters, loyalists, and all that. And he's going to have that, of course. But then there's the other people out here that are seeing that, and they're starting to leave the reservation, right? They're trying to spin off and go, wait, no, something's not right with this whole Trump administration. Something ain't right. I don't like it, so on and so forth. We've been seeing it with the likes of Tucker Carlson to Candace Owens and the sort, right? They're all moving away. So maybe she's just reading the room and she's just going with it. But yeah, there is a lot of things that he's trying to, like, oh, affordability, we're going to do it. And it's like, no, nothing you're doing right now is any semblance of affordability. Yeah, 50-year mortgage, you can kiss my moving on. Let me just let her talk.
Let me ask you about your breakup with President Trump. Part of that was over this battle over releasing the Epstein files in September. After a meeting with a group of Epstein survivors, you'd held a news conference and threatened to identify some of the men who had abused them. The New York Times Magazine reported that President Trump called you in your office afterwards and, quote, according to a staff member, everyone in the suite of rooms could hear him yelling at her as she listened to him on speakerphone. Greene says she expressed her perplexity over his intransigence. According to Greene, Trump replied, "My friends will get hurt." What do you think President Trump meant by "my friends will get hurt," Congresswoman?
Epstein time.
I've been asking that question ever since, and I make no apologies for standing with women and victims of rape, because in this country, there are far too many victims of rape. All walks of men and women alike have been victims of rape or some type of child abuse. And the Epstein files is significant. And demanding transparency for that should not lead to the president, who I helped get elected and supported far more than pretty much any Republican in Washington. It should not have led to him calling me a traitor. That is absolutely unacceptable, and the American people reject it. Yeah. But here's what should be prioritized is victims. And victims of an entire system that protected the rich, powerful elites. And that's what Americans are absolutely sick and tired of. That was part of what they voted for in 2024. They voted to tear down the system that protects the rich, powerful elites. They voted to tear down the system that consistently goes for foreign wars and regime change. They voted to tear down the system that does nothing for regular, hardworking Americans and only consistently props up the big banks, the military industrial complex, and the oil executives and major industries. And, you want to know something? After this regime change in Venezuela, I fear that we're going to see jobs just move south, because we're already hearing about big corporations lining up their trips to Venezuela for the next big business opportunity that exists, while Americans sit here with no options that are going to provide them with good paying jobs and affordable health care.
Let me just say this really quick. She is absolutely, see, like I said, we in the upside down. She is absolutely right. Because Wall Street is already gearing up to make a move out there in March so that they can figure out what they can do and what they can't do out there, looking at the infrastructure, etc., trying to bank on this situation. That's it. Wall Street is even looking into this right now. Again, this is big. Huge deals. Huge deal. She's not wrong. The potential of jobs going somewhere else. Now, here's the other thing too. Let's just think about this. Just because jobs will be over there doesn't mean that there won't be a possibility of jobs here. Just something to think about. Because obviously things need to be brought, if it is just going to be straight up oil, they need to take this oil to America, right? Or the distribution of it, more jobs. Doesn't mean that they're all going south. It could also be things that are going on here in America as well. More jobs in that regard. But still, doesn't answer all of our prayers, right? It doesn't.
Congresswoman, let me finally ask you about one of the rifts and concerns in the Republican Party over the issue of anti-Semitism. In 2022, you did speak at a conference organized by Nick Fuentes. He's a white nationalist. He recently said that Hitler is, quote, cool. Let me ask you about your perspective right now. Do you believe there is room in the Republican Party for Nick Fuentes and anyone who shares that ideology, that Hitler is cool?
Here's my situation and here's my belief on people's speech. I will always defend the First Amendment and free speech, no matter what kind of speech it is,
Here we
even
go.
speech that I find abhorrent or I disagree with, because I think that makes us uniquely American. What concerns me is that when we move towards censorship, and we saw that happen during COVID. I myself had my own Twitter account permanently banned because I spoke out against FDA rushed approval of the COVID vaccines. And I spoke out against lockdowns and forced masking. And, you know, when I look at people saying that certain types of speech needs to be censored, and we have been hearing that lately, that raises great concern for me. So I think it's something that we have to take seriously. Is as Americans, we don't have to agree with each other, and we certainly can disagree, but we should overwhelmingly agree that free speech must be protected.
Well, let me just, I mean, during COVID, you did compare lockdowns to.
I don't agree with hate speech at all as well, but that's the unfortunate thing. I'm not a fan of Nick Fuentes at all. And I don't like the things that come out of his face at all. But at the same time, yeah, that's the unfortunate side of freedom of speech, right? But she was at events with this guy. That's another conversation in itself, okay? Like I said, she says Jewish lasers and all that are happening. And, you know, it's Marjorie Taylor Greene. Like I said, up until now, okay? Up until now, the things that she was saying about how this is what's going on in Venezuela, she doesn't see it as America first. I agree. I don't see it as America first. Not yet. My thoughts might change afterwards if they really do what they say they're going to do, but they're actually saying what they're going to do. And again, that doesn't sound like America first. I see a lot of rich, fat, rich men making a whole lot more money now, not the American people. But that is subject to change. Anything's possible. We shall see about that.
The Holocaust. I understand your point about free speech, but let me press you there because Nick Fuentes has said on his podcast, quote, Hitler was awesome.
That's a misquote. Kristen, that's a misquote. That's a misquote. That's not correct. I compared vaccine cards, being forced to take a vaccine in order to be able to keep a job or buy or sell or be able to be admitted to restaurants. I compared that. I was not comparing. The Holocaust was horrible. I'm not comparing anything to that.
Okay. It's interesting because that makes me think of what's her name? What's her freaking name? Actress Gina. It was like Gina Carano. Gina Carano, I think is her last name. Remember her? She's like an action star. She got canceled because she started putting out things about the cards, whether, you know, showing proof whether you got the poke or not and all that. Remember that crap, right? Right? She got canceled. Yeah. Wasn't she on like some big Disney show or like a Star Wars show or something like that? Yeah, she got canceled. Okay, messy. I see that. And somebody else said that whimsical chaos. Yeah, it's like she got canceled, but then Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro came in and swooped in and said, "Oh yeah, well you're not canceled. Come over here and join us and do a whole bunch of movies over here at Daily Wire, right? Because they make movies apparently. I think they made their own Snow White. Word." They made their own Snow White. Daily Wire made their own Snow White, if I'm correct. Did they not? I could have sworn that they produced their own Snow White, but that's another wild conversation in itself, baby. Okay, but let's continue on. Let's finish this.
Let me just ask you though, because Nick Fuentes has said on his podcast, Hitler was awesome. Hitler was right. The Holocaust didn't happen. He also participated in the Charlottesville rally where demonstrators chanted, "Jews will not replace us." Senator Ted Cruz says this is a time for choosing. He says if you're embracing someone who says Hitler is cool, you are complicit in that evil. Do you think Ted Cruz has a point that you'd be complicit in that evil to support or in any way fail to denounce what Nick Fuentes has said?
Kristen, I don't know Nick Fuentes. I don't even have his phone number. He doesn't have my phone number. I spoke at a conference of his because it was largely attended by young Americans, and I care about that generation. And I went there to talk directly to them. So I really am not familiar with what Nick Fuentes says, whether it's on social media or his podcast. Nor do I pay that much attention to Ted Cruz. He routinely attacks me. The things that I focus on is the needs of the American.
But should he be embraced in the Republican Party,
get,
Congresswoman? Is there room for him in the Republican Party?
Kristen, I don't think that this is about the Republican Party, and it's not about Nick Fuentes. I see this about free speech, and I'm going to sit here and tell you over and over again, I defend the First Amendment. I will defend free speech, whether I like the speech, agree with the speech, disagree with the speech, hate the speech. I'm going to defend it because I can point to many other people in the Democrat Party that I completely don't like their speech. I can point to members of the press that have written horrific stories that I think are lies, and I can say, I don't like that speech, but I still defend free speech, and I still defend the press having rights to publish stories, because I think that's how you hold the government accountable. And I want a press that tells the truth to the American people, not slants it or paints it one way, but strictly publishes the truth. And that's what Americans really want. So I'm not going to engage in weighing in on who deserves to be where. I'm going to strictly tell you, I will defend free speech at all costs.
Congresswoman.
Okay, interesting. Of course, I think that is going to be stuff that she's never going to be able to live down. I'm going to be real. She is not going to be able to live it down. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Doesn't matter. It's a bad look no matter what. And the people are going to continue asking her that question if she ever runs for office again, which she probably will. But tomorrow is going to be her last day. And I'm telling you right now, I have a feeling like she's going to go off like a powder cake tomorrow. That's what I think. Her last day in office, I think she's going to drop all kinds of crazy stuff. Why? Because hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Right? Trump called her a traitor. She got basically chastised, ostracized by the person that she cheerleaded for the longest time. And I think she still has a bad taste in her mouth over that situation. I think it's going to be very interesting to find out how she reacts to everything tomorrow. But I do think, I think she's going to leave with some sort of, she's going to leave a mark tomorrow, I have a feeling. I just want to play a little bit of this too. Hold on one second. Actually, I take that back. I told you guys I was going to play this clip, so I want to make sure I have this clip up and ready for you guys, because I want you guys to see this for yourselves as well. Hold on, because this is the clip I was talking about. Un momento, por favor.
From Venezuela. When I left, Venezuela was ready to collapse. We would have taken it over. We would have gotten all that oil. It would have been right next door.
9 months before the 2024 election, Trump said he wanted Venezuela to collapse so he can take them over for oil. And now we already know he's attacking Caracas, or he did, and he got their leader. This happened in 2024 when he was talking about Venezuela and their oil.
How about we're buying oil from Venezuela? When I left, Venezuela was ready to collapse. We would have taken it over. We would have gotten all that oil. It would have been right next door. How about we're...
Just so you know, that exists. That exists.
Buying oil.
That exists. I just wanted to make sure you guys saw that. Because I know some of y'all are like, nah, he didn't do that. He wasn't like that. No, he really was saying that a couple years ago. Or not even a couple years ago, not very long ago, right? Not very long ago. He was saying that. So his eyes were on that prize, Venezuela. And you remember, he said he's going to drill, baby, drill. But he never said he never said where he was going to drill. So now he's going to drill, baby, drill over in Venezuela. Sure, the drilling's still going to happen in America. What else is new? But he's going to get that liquid gold. He's going to get that liquid gold. It's going to be basically the Venezuelan Beverly Hillbillies, but it's going to be the Venezuelan hillbillies. They're going to strike gold, and they're going to try to make this happen as best as possible and as quickly as possible. But moving on, we got to talk about this too, because this is very interesting. According to Stephen Miller's wife, Dr. Evil, okay, Dr. Evil. And if you don't know who Stephen Miller is, just take one good look at one of his photos. He looks like Dr. Evil. I'm sorry. He looks like Austin Powers, Dr. Evil, that character. Just take a look and you're going to see he talks like this. That's what it kind of sounds like. and he looks like that. He's always looked like he's pouting. He always looks like he's mad. I don't know how he gets laid, but he's married. Lo and behold, this man is married. And the wifey is saying, holy crap, Greenland is next. Dr. Evil. Okay? So fears in Greenland of U.S. takeover after Venezuelans, of course, the Venezuela operation, as leading MAGA figures says it will happen, and in all caps, soon. Crazy. So the attack on Venezuela and the capture of the country's president has sparked fears that the U.S. plans to take over Greenland, because Trump has been talking about Greenland for the longest time. He's been talking about Greenland, just so you guys know. He wants it. He wants Greenland really, really bad. Untapped territory of natural resources. It is rich with all of that. This is the other reason why he's looking at not only just Venezuela, but Nigeria. And now he's looking at Greenland. He's been looking at Greenland. And now the fact that some people are looking at what happened in Venezuela as an invasion, they're looking at this and saying, well, that invasion was successful for the most part, still pending on that verdict, but still, they got the guy. They got their guy. And now they're going to be able to run how they want to run that country. So after all that happens, you know how it is. They're getting drunk off the power. They're going, ooh, so who's next? Ooh, Greenland. Let's get it. And that's exactly what's happening now. Hours after the dictator Nicolas Maduro of course, Venezuela was taken into custody on trafficking charges, Katie Miller, the wife of Trump's deputy chief of staff, Stephen Miller, Dr. Evil, shared a controversial post seemingly calling for the U.S. to take the Arctic island over. So Miller, who is a conservative podcaster who just did that. Remember, we just watched a podcast, very brief podcast with Cash Patel with his girlfriend. And he's all laughing and stuff on that podcast. That was Katie Miller Stephen Miller's wife's podcast that he's all just chuckling like a schoolgirl about his newfound love with his girlfriend, not his wife, but his girlfriend. Country singer sensation, whatever her name is. I don't remember her name. But remember, that's who we're dealing with. So, of course, the wife who sleeps in the same bed, I'm assuming, I don't know, he might sleep suspended upside down, like a vampire. I don't know how Stephen Miller actually sleeps, but nonetheless, he just gives me these weird, creepy, like old, like Dracula or like the Mummy, the Wolfman. You see what I'm saying? He just gives me those vibes. I'm sorry, but moving on. Legacy horror icons, right? He just gives me that vibe. But moving on. The person who's sleeping right next to the man is starting to give out information saying Greenland's next. Okay, I guess we should take her word for it. So she posted a map of the Danish territory covered by the American flag and simply wrote, soon. So the MAGA ally threat immediately drew outrage among Greenlanders and Danes who stood up to protect their home, which is known for its untapped mineral wealth and is part of NATO. So a Denmark ambassador to the U.S. reposted Miller's incitement and shared a quote-unquote friendly reminder of the established defense ties between the two countries. So he said, just a friendly reminder about the U.S. and the Kingdom of Denmark. We are close allies and should continue to work together as such. U.S. security is also Greenland's and Denmark's security. This is what this particular ambassador wrote. Now, Greenland is already part of NATO. The Kingdom of Denmark and the U.S. work together to ensure security in the Arctic. The Kingdom of Denmark has significantly boosted its Arctic security efforts. In 2025 alone, we committed US dollars, 13.7 billion US dollars that can be used in the Arctic and North Atlantic because we take our joint security seriously. And look at that. That is literally the post that she put up. That's insane, by the way. We get done, or America gets done doing what they did with Venezuela. We're not done with Venezuela, by the way. Nowhere near have they done anything as far as the takeover yet. As far as what Marco Rubio is saying, he is saying that boots are not on the ground right now at all. Boots are not on the ground in Venezuela. Not yet, but it's coming. It's coming. And we shouldn't be surprised when that actually does go down. But it's crazy that after this successful operation, you got the likes of Stephen Miller's wifey posting this ish and saying, soon. That's crazy. Just so you know, that is nuck and futz. Oh, boy. You can't write this stuff. This is really what's going on. So apparently this photo is real. This is not AI. We posted it yesterday, right? We looked at it and we were like, it's probably AI. Apparently this is a real photo. Media is using that photo, which is interesting. The ambassador added, and yes, we expect full respect for the territorial integrity of the Kingdom of Denmark. So the Danish Prime Minister, Matt Frederiksen, echoed this ambassador, okay, and revealed the country is ramping up its military force amid Trump's threat to take over Greenland. That's not good, y'all. So during her annual New Year's speech, Frederiksen, hopefully I'm saying that correct, blasted Trump's ongoing threats, insisting that Denmark will stand, quote unquote, stand firm on what is right and wrong. This is what they said. In the past year, we have had to pay attention to a lot. Threats, pressure, derogatory language for our closest ally for a lifetime, wanting to take over another country, other people, as if it were something you could buy and own. It doesn't belong anywhere. My speech to you, my speech tonight has not been about foreign policy. It could well have been that. You know where the government stands. We are in full swing strengthening Danish defense and preparedness. Never before have we increased our military strength so significantly, so quickly. And oh my God, that is the first time I've ever seen that man smile. What? He has teeth? But yes, he smiles. Interesting. I didn't know. I thought he was a one-trick pony. Moving on, we are not the ones seeking conflict. But let no one be in any doubt. No matter what happens, we will stand firm on what is right and wrong. So the prime minister reiterated that the country is working to strengthen security in the Arctic and described the kingdom as vast in territory, but small in population. We are taking on our responsibilities in the world. If we let one country fall first, then the way is paved for Russia to advance further into Europe. Wow. So again, guys, this is insane. And that man smiles. Wow. Like I said, I thought he was a one-trick pony. Dr. Evil. But anyway, this is very interesting, don't you think? You got a whole situation going on in Greenland, and you got the likes of wifey, Stephen Miller's wifey, Katie, okay? Katie coming out here and saying, soon. That is some ballsy things to say. And also, here's the thing. Why the wife who's sleeping next to, she sleeps next to the man that works behind the main man, right? Why is she showing his deck of cards? Why is she showing the ace up his sleeve like that out there for the world? Why? Like, she's being reckless, by the way. That's reckless. Because I feel like if I was Stephen Miller, which I'd never be, but if I was Stephen Miller, I'd be having conversations with my wife right now. I'd be like, Katie, hey, Katie, why, man? Why do you put it out there like that, man? They ain't supposed to know what we doing next. Come on now, Katie. You see what I'm saying? She'd have a very stern talk to. Why are you showing the cards, man? Katie. Why, Katie? You know what I'm saying? I'd be pissed. But I guess we all are going to look at that. But here's the other thing, too. Could it be that she put that out? See, this is where the tinfoil hat comes on. But could it be that she put that out there as a red herring? As a Kansas City shuffle? Make us look that way while they go and do something in Cuba? You see what I'm saying? As the Danish, territory starts to tighten up their security because they're like, oh, snap, butthole gets tight because they're ready for the collision with America. But all the while, they're talking about Panama or Nigeria or Colombia, Cuba, Mexico, anybody else that they're trying to fight. Just think about it, y'all. Pretty insane, though, right? Pretty insane. So, of course, guys, let me end this this poll here. 66% of y'all out of 668 votes believe that it's a bad thing that America is going to run Venezuela and all that has happened, right? I agree. I don't think it's a great thing. But here's the thing. Let's find out what happens. Let's see what happens. Everything just happened yesterday, right? We all woke up to crazy information. What's going to happen in the near future? As Marco Rubio just said, we need 2 weeks to 2 months, 2 to 3 months to figure out what's going on. the next couple weeks are going to be very volatile and very touch and go. Because you got to remember, there's other countries that are reacting to this situation. Will they retaliate in response to what happened in Venezuela or not? That's a question I'd love to have answered. But let's get some of these super chats here really quick. Miss Ruth, thank you so much for the love. Thank you for keeping us informed, of course. Happy New Year to you and your family, Pascal. Happy New Year to you too, guys. Happy New Year to you all, okay? I mean, aside from finding out about health insurance being that expensive, okay, I had a great New Year's Eve, right? I think everybody has been having a great, hopefully you guys all had a great New Year's Eve. And I'm hoping that the start of your 2026 is filled with nothing but positivity. And, you know, this is the time to rip the Band-Aid off on that thing you said you were going to do. And you've been saying you're going to do it, but then you don't do it. And it's been years. You say it every single year. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Do it. Okay, just get her done. Rod, thank you so much. What's up? Thank you so much for the love. Can you dig into the data on the substances from Venezuela? I'm going to have to do that on, I'll look into it before our next show for sure. It's a very minor contributor to U.S. illegal substance supply. Very interesting. This was about oil and optics. Absolutely. Absolutely. I 110% agree with you on this ride. TDS coming from literal cult members. That's rich. Yeah, let's be real. People who are out here that are absolute loyalists, I get it. You want to be loyalists and support what everything Trump does. Hey, that's on you. Do you? But I always encourage all of us to be independent thinkers. Think outside the box. Ask the questions. If it means that you go against the grain on certain things, that's okay. Because that's your opinion, and that is how life is supposed to be. We're not a hive mind. Dag nabbit, we are not a hive mind. Think for yourself and ask the questions. But I think some people are scared. They're scared to think for themselves. Think outside of that. They're just like, well, what's being shoved into our eyeballs on the news and it's being said by the president is 110% the truth. No, it's not. I'm sorry to tell you guys that, but we've been swindled and bamboozled millions and millions of times before, even way before Trump got into office. This is the same crap. We are just seeing another politician-y move, okay? This is a sleight of hand, for lack of a better term. I'm being real, y'all. Think for yourselves. Listen to the words that are being said. See the tap dancing around certain things that we are seeing in real time. Real talk. Don't be afraid to get curious. Whimsical, thank you so much for the love. I appreciate it. Let's talk Jen Gillot. I don't know, in congressional testimony. I need to look into that. I don't know what that one is. I'll look into it, though. Okay. Thank you so much for the super chat, though. Hey, Rachel, thank you so much for being a member for the past year. What kind of crimes did he do? Now, the question is, are you talking about Trump or are you talking about Maduro? Maduro, they're saying it's from a multitude of different things, including moving substances. But as far as Trump, I mean, some will say that some believe that he broke some laws, that Maduro has been kidnapped, not captured. But again, one thing that Trump is really good at, and the administration is really good at, is finding loopholes. And they found a loophole when it comes to Maduro. So I think he was captured. I truly think that he was captured. But there's other people that think that he was kidnapped. I think he was captured. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Just because he was captured does not mean I agree with it or disagree with that. You see what I'm saying? But he was captured. That's what I think. Okay. But thank you so much for being a member for the past year. NB7, thank you so much for being a member for over 2 years. I'm sorry. Thank you. They already captured 5 Americans. This will not end well for the average everyday citizen in Venezuela. They already captured 5 Americans in Venezuela? Word? I didn't know that. There will be limited access to resources. Yes. Because like I said, there's going to be they're not going to call it a war, but there will be a war. And they're going to keep deploying people over there. And it's going to be on and on, back and forth like this. Watch. Because it's liquid gold. You really think that the Venezuelan regime, the Venezuelan government is just going to hand over the keys to Scrooge McDuck's bank? No, they are not. They're going to fight. We will see. Okay. Let's see. Michelle, thank you so much for love. There's no way this beast is settling for only 2 terms. If the strike didn't show that by now, I don't know what will. See, here's the thing. That is a very big concern. I think a lot of us are, some of us, not a lot of us, but some of us are looking at. Because what we're seeing with Maduro could very well be the same reaction or same outcome here in America too. That Maduro to Venezuela is Trump to America. That's possible. That is possible. This could very well be a foreshadowing of what's to come. You never know. But like I said, I'm trying to hold fast to the Constitution. I'm trying to hold fast to the things that have been implemented way before we were even born in this country, right? And when the birth of this nation was created, and certain laws and certain amendments, etc., were implemented and made. I'm hoping that the American people and the American government continues to honor that as well. But anything's possible. Anything's possible. Okay. Fabulous Fab, thank you so much for the love and being a member for the past. Wow, over 2 years. Appreciate you. Almost 3. We're getting close. Y'all need to get together fast. I don't know what that means. But I'm hoping that we all have I'm hoping that the reaction to all this does not turn out to be something negative, but we'll see what happens. Beautiful Messy Ball, thank you so much for the love. I just dropped the indictment in Discord and DM. Hold on, because I am wrapping up the show right now, but what DM? I don't see it. Oh, wait, hold on. Whoops. Ooh, okay. This is going to be something that we're going to have to look. Thank you so much, Messy. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for sending this to me. This is something I'm going to have to look at when I on another show. Okay. Because unfortunately I'm wrapping up the show right now. But yeah, this is a 25-page, as you guys can see. I'll just show it to you guys real quick. It's a 25-page indictment. So here it is. So we are going to look at that when we get a second for sure. Okay. But again, guys, what say you? What are your thoughts on this? I'm curious what you think. Do you think this is going to be a turnout for something negative, or do you think that this is going to be a turnout for like everything will just be maintain the status quo because you got a country that's scared to retaliate against the likes of America? What do you think? Because again, I don't think that they're going to see. Here's the thing. I don't think, as far as Venezuela, I really don't think that they're going to bring the battle to America. I think the battle is going to stay on Venezuela's soil because they're trying to protect their resources, those oil reserves, their riches. Like I said, I don't think that they're going to be handing over the keys to that loot, that pirate's booty that easily. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, guys, that is the show. I appreciate all y'all for being here. Really means a lot. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please do me a favor before we head out. Hit that like button down below. Crush it, do it a do. Hit that reaction button if you're watching on these other platforms. And if you are watching on these other platforms, please make sure you hit that follow button. Follow. Make sure you subscribe here on my YouTube channel. That'd be amazing. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Go check out Pascal Show Clips and Pascal Raw, 2 other separate shows or just separate channels. Subscribe to those channels. Hit the notification bell. Set it to all so you know whenever I go live, whenever I upload, because honestly, it's random. Hit that join button down below. Become a member. Check out my Patreon. We got something coming up on Patreon a little bit later on today, so be sure to be on the lookout for that on Patreon. All right. check that out. And of course, do not forget to check out pascalmerch.com. Okay, guys, it is time to get going. Much love to you guys. Have a great rest of your Sunday. If anything's popping off, you know for a fact we'll be back here to talk about it and all. And Louisa, thank you so much for becoming a member. Welcome to the family. But it's time to get going. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. This is the Pascal Show. Bye.